For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will square off in a debate tonight in Philadelphia in an effort to sway voters ahead of the November election. It's the first presidential debate since President Joe Biden's abysmal debate against Trump, which unraveled his re-election bid, led to an upheaval in the Democratic Party, and ultimately Biden's decision to drop out of the presidential race and endorse his running mate for president. Now all eyes are on Harris, a San Francisco Bay Area native and former California senator. But for many, the debate will be a first introduction to her. FSN's Simon Marks reports.
Dr. Donna Jackson is an expert on U.S. politics and history at the University of Chester.
We are going to learn so much more about Kamala Harris and what she is about. As vice president, she's not that visible. She had no power. So this is her chance to show that she is presidential. And I think that's one of the things that people do look for. It is not just about what people say. It's not about their policies. It is about image now as well. And is she calm? Is she controlled? Is she decisive? And I think people will learn a lot about her, and that will, I think, affect many of the as yet undecided voters.
A New York Times Siena College survey over the weekend showed the national race absolutely neck and neck, and tonight's 90-minute encounter will be the first time that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have ever actually met. I'm Simon Marks.
Pacifica Radio will provide live coverage of the debate with Letters and Politics host Mitch Jeserich starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Donald Trump faces scrutiny over threats he made on social media vowing to arrest election workers and prosecutors. Trump faces espionage and felony charges for trying to overturn his election loss and has repeated debunked claims the 2020 election was stolen from him. Catherine Carley has more.
These comments are not political. They are tyrannical. They don't speak to the rule of law. What they speak to is one person's grievance.
Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes says former President Donald Trump's threat to jail election officials harms the nation's bipartisan poll workers and volunteers. In an online post, Trump said election officials, lawyers, political operatives, and donors, who he says will try to cheat him out of his inevitable victory, would face long-term prison sentences. Threats against election workers have skyrocketed since 2020, but Trump surrogate North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum says he's just putting people on notice.
And I think this could have been a statement that could have come from the Harris campaign as well, because everybody's concerned in this country about making sure that our elections are free and fair.
The former president recently told a podcast that he lost in 2020, something he's never publicly admitted before. I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has condemned the Israeli military's killing of an American activist who was attending a protest in the occupied West Bank against Israeli settlements, which are illegal under international law. Eyewitness accounts say an Israeli sniper on a rooftop shot a 26-year-old Aysenir Ezgi Aigi, an activist from Seattle, shooting her in the head Friday. Today, the Israeli military said a soldier shot her indirectly and unintentionally, aiming at someone else, who it described as an instigator of a riot. In the U.S., protesting is a fundamental right.
Her killing was both unprovoked and unjustified. No one should be shot and killed for attending a protest. No one should have to put their life at risk just for freely expressing their views. In our judgment, Israeli security forces need to make some fundamental changes in the way that they operate in the West Bank, including changes to their rules of engagement.
Other protesters said there had been clashes between Israeli forces firing tear gas and live rounds and Palestinians throwing rocks, but it had subsided before a soldier shot and killed the activist. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have killed 32 Palestinians and injured about 100 others in the last 24 hours. One strike was on a safe zone in the Al-Mawasi camp, killing 19 people, which now brings the death toll of Palestinians in Gaza to more than 41,000. Officials in Ukraine say more than 140 drones targeted multiple Russian regions overnight, including Moscow, in one of the largest Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian soil in 2.5 years of war. At least one person was killed. Apple and Google have lost landmark legal cases in the European Union, with the two tech giants having to pay out billions of dollars in fines. FSN's Alex Cadier reports.
Apple has to pay $14.4 billion to the Irish government. This landmark case is a boost in the European Union's crackdown on member states giving big corporations advantageous tax deals to attract their business. It is the largest successful tax case ever brought by the European Commission. For its part, Google lost its fight against a $2.6 billion fine leveled against it by the European Commission as well. Google was found to have unfairly promoted the results of its own price comparison service, Google Shopping.
Alex Cadier, Brussels.
Apple released its latest iPhone lineup. 4 different iPhone 16 models will all come equipped with a special chip needed to power artificial intelligence. Activists rallied against Apple's use of child labor in the Congo to produce the iPhone at its headquarters in Cupertino yesterday as it rolled out the new product.
While you're looking at your phones, there are 40,000 children in enslaved labor digging out cobalt for your phone.
Apple says it uses a third-party human rights certifier, ITSCI, but activists say it's a greenwashing and human rights abuses still take place to produce the technology. And President Biden Monday marked the 34th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. Biden referred to the landmark civil rights law as proof Washington can work together to ensure the American dream for everyone.
For more than 61 million Americans living with disabilities, these laws are a source of opportunity, respect, and pride, and dignity now. Dignity.
Biden touted his administration's work to further the law today, noting more than 2.2 million of 16 million jobs created since he took office have gone to people with disabilities. I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.